an additional bite of discussions with him. Now we were disappointed that yesterday, in the midst of all those army generals, he appeared to swap an agreed position and proceeded to read a document which clearly is the trademark of Jonathan Moyo, that document. And, you know, to the chagrin of the nation and to the utter outrage of the whole world, he proceeds to pretend as if his president is normal. It's no longer normal, Mr. Mugabe. It's done, your president, it's history. So, you know, this is why we are saying, whilst Parliament may be doing certain things, whilst the whole the other avenues, I think now I'll talk to you about possibly the judiciary too, all the people of Zimbabwe are engaged in this thing, but we, the war veterans, are going back to the people and calling upon them to come back. And we are appealing to the business community wherever you are. We saw the general support which you gave on Saturday. Now we want even more support. It will be a sit-in until Mugabe's back is seen by the people of Zimbabwe. We are not going to be leaving Harare until he's gone this time. That's what we are telling. The message is very clear. And we are also appealing to the diaspora. They come from every village of Zimbabwe, from wherever you are. If you sponsored an individual last time to come to the march, sponsor two. If you sponsored a combi last time to come from your village to come to this march for against Mugabe, please sponsor 2 buses. We want the whole population to descend upon Harare and give an unmistakable message that we want to see Mugabe's back. The country has to start on a new page. His rule has been disastrous, particularly the last 15 years. No country has been reduced to the level of depredation which Zimbabwe has gone through, worse than a country which has gone to a war, and is totally oblivious to the damage which he has been doing to the nation because he's more preoccupied with indulging this coterie and his doting wife. That's what has been his business in Parliament, nothing else. Believe you me, I was in Politburo, I was in Cabinet. The year you shall read the minutes of the Cabinet of Zimbabwe and the Politburo of Zimbabwe, then you realize that Zimbabwe's resilience, the country has been literally running on the mess of God. The competence of that group is the crass incompetence of that group of rulers goes beyond measure. So this is what we are trying to rescue the country from. We need to make Zimbabwe be a modern country. It can sustain itself on autopilot with a rudderless administration. Imagine if it is properly ruled. It will confound the world. And that's what we want to do. I also want to mention that we have initiated a court action, and this surrounds our armed forces. Our armed forces, because they've got a revolutionary tradition, remember, all the people here are war veterans, except maybe the young men at the extreme. Some of them remained in the army, like him. They became generals. We left and became diplomats soon after independence because the job was done. So our army has got a very, very political tradition. But in the one which is now, those who remained are very, very professional. They had to intervene to arrest a situation which would have forced them to deal with a serious breakdown of civil order in the country because the people were really at the end of their tether with Mugabe. And the army would have been forced to intervene. But the worst thing was that the 2 frontline security agencies which should have handled this situation ahead were heavily infiltrated by the cabal of the G40. The frontline role is usually done by the police and the intelligence service. And the 2 institutions had been infiltrated. So clearly a vacuum of loyalty in the administration of the country had been created. And that's what necessitated the army to take what was essentially an intelligence and police corrective action against a criminal cabal which had ensconced itself behind the president and through his wife. That's what the army did. And we are very happy that it has been understood by the region that this was never a coup. It has also been understood by the whole world that this was never a coup. It was the army simply filling in a gap where the intelligence and the security and the police apparatus had left. So SADC has supported that position too. The chairman, he sent his people, yeah, chairman, and we want to applaud to hail Comrade Zuma. You know, he's the president of the Republic of South Africa. a comrade who lived many years during the exile years in Zimbabwe. He understood the situation correctly, and he has been giving proper guidance to SADC on this particular issue. And the beauty, the ultimate beauty about it is that on Saturday, when the whole story was that the army of Zimbabwe was detaining Mugabe, when people started started marching towards the Blue House, the army intervened to protect Mugabe. You understand? Yeah, so if the army had been against him, they probably would have left him to the crowds to lynch him. But no, this is not the way of the Zimbabwe army. So this is, we want to make it very clear that the role of the army is simply because the other two services of this government of Zimbabwe had been infiltrated by the G40, which has got very deep oligopoly capital connections, but this is the story of another day. It is not the story of today. We'll talk about it when we are over, when we are building the new economy. I'm getting to the point where we have initiated legal action in the High Court of Zimbabwe. And just before I get to the legal action, the president himself yesterday, in his winding and dawdling statement about trying to remain in office, he actually admitted that the army did the correct thing because I had become derelict of my duty. He admitted. All of you, you saw it. You heard it for yourself. And we have gone to the court today. We are hoping that the case is registered to say that Mugabe, he was derelict of his executive duty, forcing the head of the army to intervene to arrest criminals. And the army is now done its job. And the people of Zimbabwe on Saturday took off from where the army had left. And this is why we are also calling on the people of Zimbabwe to say, he is dragging his feet a little bit longer than is due. So we want to make sure that he lives now. We want to see his back now. Mugabe, your rule is over. The emperor has no clothes. Thank you very much.
Chris, about Mugabe's non-resignation yesterday, do you think the president has outwitted the military, or do you think he is delusional?
I would rather think it's delusion. Yeah, the military, these are very smart people. This is one of the, one of the most proficient armies in Africa because they are all coming from years of combat and years of retraining since the independence with the Americans, with the British, with the Chinese, with everybody. So we are very proud. Our army knows its duty and it knows it very, very well. That's why we are going to the courts to defend them. It's delusion more on the part. It's Jonathan and Grace and Kasukwere because he's living at that great, he's living in his own cloud calculent. They are cloistered in thinking that the situation can go back to what it was where they were running this country aground. It won't happen. So it's delusion more than anything else. He's simply, I told you, the emperor has no clothes. He composes himself as if he's on Savile Row Street in London. He has no clothes. It's delusion. It's delusion. We want the actions of the army to be seen in the context of defending the Constitution of Zimbabwe. I will be giving you, the state. It should be available very soon, but I can read it out if you want. Do you want to read it out? Okay, I'll be very quick. It's not long. It's a declaratory order which we are seeking, and the declaratory order says, it's the Zimbabwe War Veterans Liberation War Veterans Association, and the respondents who are the applicants. The respondent is the President of the Republic, the Minister of Defense, and the Commander of the Defense Forces, and the fourth respondent is the Attorney General. And the declaratory order which we seek says that the actions of the Defense Forces in intervening to stop the takeover of the first respondent's constitutional functions by those around him are constitutionally permissible and lawful in terms of Section 212 of the Constitution of the Republic of Zimbabwe. In that, they arrest the first respondent's abdication of constitutional function. Mugabe had literally abdicated his constitution. He was in dire dereliction of duty. Secondly, they ensure that non-elected officials, specifically his wife, she was making pronouncements on the judiciary, on parliament, on anything. when she doesn't exist in the constitution of Zimbabwe, that woman. She's absolutely mad. She's clinically mad. So they ensure that the non-elected officials do not exercise executive functions which can only be exercised by the elected constitutional functionaries of the Republic of Zimbabwe. It is consequently ordered that the actions of the defense forces being constitutionally valid, second respondent has the right to take all such measures and undertake all such acts as will bring the desired end to its intervention. Thank you.